So Tommy's got his hands up like this. So for example, Tyson at close range would step his lead foot out as he moves his head to the side, then bring his rear foot up to his lead foot and kick it out, ending up in the opposite lead. So he would switch his lead and shift to the side of his opponent. He'd do the same on the opposite side. So he'd be in this position, he would move his rear foot out as he slipped to his right, then his lead foot would come to his rear foot to switch up, and then he'd be set for a better angle of attack. So he was a master of getting into range by using good evasive head movement. And then once he was in range and he was landing bombs, he would shift out to either side to get a dominant angle of attack. And he had some classic combinations that he used to throw from there. So if I face the camera, for shifting towards my left, as I slip towards my left, my lead foot would step, you bend your knees, then your rear leg would kick up to your lead leg and you'd switch leads. So now I'm in southpaw lead, and you'd follow up from that dominant angle of attack because he liked to switch leads. If I was going towards my right, I'd be in my stance. I'd be using the peekaboo side to side head movement style. My right foot would step out a little bit as I slipped towards my right. Then my lead foot would come to my rear foot and I'd shift up and be able to counter that. So shifting you can do to the left and the right. Really good tactic to use against the ropes, which is what we're going to look at the first knockout where Tyson was up against the ropes and he shifted out to the side to get this really sneaky dominant angle of attack and knocked his opponent out. He had a lot of knockouts. So, if I'm the person against the, if we imagine Tommy's against the ropes here, in fact Tommy, if you go against this cage, that would work perfectly. So Tommy's against the cage here, he doesn't want to be here. At close range, you're exchanging shots. So what Tyson did in this particular fight was his lead foot stepped out as he slipped. So it's a simultaneous slip to the left and you dip down, and he made himself small. So now it's hard for me to get to his head. This is going to go over the top. His hands are up, so this side of his body's protected. I've probably only got a liver shot, but he's not going to stay there for very long. He's dipped his right knee towards his left knee. Now what he's going to do is switch his lead by jumping his knee across, and then it's an overhand, an uppercut, and an overhand that finished the fight. So he just blitzed him. So he basically disappeared. The opponent was here, so if you make your stance a little bit more square. So Tyson was famous for having almost a square stance because then he can shift his weight this side or shift his weight this side very easily. It's difficult to do if you have more of a longer bladed stance because you have to move your feet more. Whereas if your feet are more parallel, one, that makes both your punches harder, but it allows you to shift easier to side. So a bit more square, bend your knees. So we're kind of working in here. I might be throwing a few shots to my partner to check their hands up. Tommy's going to take a step out, got a step. That's what takes you off line and moves your head off line. So he steps out, great, pause. See how his right knee is coiled down? He's going to use that to push off and switch his stance, and then come with a left over, an uppercut, and a left over. So now he's in southpaw stance, and that was the combination that finished the fight. I'll put a link to the fight in the section below the video. So, Tommy's in this stance. So if you're working it with a student, you can be firing combinations up here. When Tommy's ready, he's going to step out and freeze. We'll just get that bit first, because that's the most important part. He's not going to stay here, because obviously I'm going to realign on him. He's going to drive his right foot to his left foot, change the angles, over, upper, over. Okay? So for students who can switch their feet and hit in both leads, learning how to shift out of this danger zone is a really, really effective technique. And again, please, Tommy. So knees bent a little bit, a bit more square, that's it. Good. So I'll be throwing. Tommy, when he's ready, he's going to step out, and then shift, and then over, over, over. Left overhand, kind of like a cross, but just it came up and over the guard, then an uppercut with the right, and then an overhand with it. So, covering, 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 stepping out when you're ready, shift, over, upper, over. Cool. That's it. So just so you can see, you can probably see it a bit more clear where I'm holding the pads. So if we imagine that there's a wall or the edge of the ring behind Tommy, bit more of a square stance. So generally in boxing you want a bit of a bladed stance because it maximizes the range of your jab. It allows you to get good rotation into your cross and allows you this forward backward footwork. But Tyson was famous for having this kind of more square body stance because that puts more power into your hooks on both sides, your uppercuts, etc. So Tommy's here. I'll be hitting him. He's just going to cover. When he's ready, he's going to step, switch up, over, over. Brilliant. So that's the switch or the step switch going towards the left-hand side. Next, we're going to look at Tyson versus Etienne, one of his last famous knockouts. This was using the switch on the other side of the body now, switching towards his right, but at longer distance. So usually Tyson would do his switch in close, in the close range, hook uppercut range, to get an angle where his opponent couldn't counter. But in this particular fight, Etienne made a mistake with his balance, and Tyson hit the switch and cut him off really, really quick. It was really, really big knockout, pretty nasty. So the setup for the knockout, obviously Tyson's got his low stance, he's got his feet a little bit more parallel, his elbows are down, he's peeking through his guard like this, and he's moving his head. So he slipped 2 jabs from Etienne. Etienne went jab, he slipped to the outside, he went jab, he slipped to the inside. Now obviously every time, not every time, but a lot of the time Tyson slips to the inside, he is looking for a hook. So he'd go slip, slip, big hook, back, because he's coiled his body. So he's gone 1, 2, and look how he's all triangular set for that hook. So he goes to the right, to the left, and then back. That hook would be coming in. And he had brutal hooks and uppercuts. And again, slip to the right, slip to the left. And the more you twist down, when you go towards the left, when you slip, the more power you'll have in your hook. If you just do a little slip, you see I'm not really engaging my legs, I'm just using my core, so I get a certain amount of power. But if I slip down like this, like my whole abs are contracted, my rear knee is pointed towards my lead knee, I've bent both legs, my hands up, my chin is down, then I've created a lot of torque in the body that when you release has more power. So really accentuate the twist. Bend your knee slightly. So slip, slip, boom, there you go. So you get a lot more power in your hook. However, Etienne didn't get hit by that hook, he bobbed and weaved it. So Tommy's going to throw it a little bit longer, he's going to aim at my head, and what I'm going to do is, when you throw the hook, I'm going to bob and weave underneath. And as he bobbed and weaved underneath, Tyson hit the switch on his lead to rear leg, moving towards his right, to get that dominant angle of attack. And then just landed a nice straight right hand that put him to sleep. In a big crumpled heap, actually. So slowly we go like this. Pad holder, going to have distance, you're going to jab to your partner's head, you're going to move it to the right. Jab to the left, move it to the left. Tommy's going to throw a hook. Now he's not going to throw it super tight because I won't be able to roll underneath. He's going to throw it a little bit wide. So I'm going to roll and I kind of step. Now it's, at this point it's who gets the dominant angle first. What happened is when Tyson threw the hook and Etienne rolled, he was a bit off position and Tyson had already cut the corner and that shot landed and that was game over. So Tyson had this switch kind of pre-programmed, pre-planned obviously, so you could just hit that angle straight away and bang, land the right hand over the top. So putting it together, nice and slow to start with, we're at distance, I give him a jab, so he slips to the right, slips to the left, throws the hook, I pivot up, and then he's going to land that right hand. And again, so I give him the jab, slip, slip, throw the hook, bomb weave, pivot up and switch. We switch sides so we can see it from this angle. You'll get a better look at Tommy's footwork here. So off his lead hook, when I start to bomb weave, freeze, he's going to push off his lead foot into his rear foot, hit that angle, and then cross. What you don't want to do when switching is put the weight to the back leg, meaning if I throw the hook and then I start to switch, so my lead foot comes to my rear foot, I don't want to do this and be back, which is what people tend to do when they switch. And they're not sure, they kind of are back, you still want your body weight forward so that you can fire back. So when I throw the hook and this lead foot switches, you see how my body weight's still forward? I'm still active and ready to fire back with both hands. Head is forward. So, Etienne being me, I go jab, slip to the right, slip to the left, one with the hook, pivot up, and then land that. And that was all she wrote, good night. Full speed now. So, slip, slip, and weave, pivot up and punch. Get that pad, kind of a back chest eye. Make sure it's not close to your head. If you hold it here, you're going to get cracked by your own pad, and that's going to loosen your fillings. So hold it in front of your chest. So and again, jab, jab, complete, pivot up and cross. Cool. So that was a brutal knockout against Etienne using the switch step at longer distance. The last knockout we're going to look at for Tyson is against Frank Bruno, which being a Brit was very upsetting, but there you go. So Tyson was doing his usual thing, you know, peekaboo, blasting with the hooks and the uppercuts, blitzing at close range, getting his angles, and he finished Bruno with his patented, his famous right body hook to right uppercut combination. Now, if you're in an orthodox stance, so we're both in orthodox stance, we've both got our left leg forward, our right leg behind. And if Tommy at this range reaches his right hook to me, you see how he's bringing his head in. So his head is easier to hit here, either with like an uppercut. If he drops his hand when he throws it, I can hook him, or I can just beat him to the punch with a straight punch. So that's the problem. It's why a lot of people don't throw the right hook to the body, is because it just brings your head in closer to your opponent and they can hit you with a headshot while you hit them with a body shot, which is a bad trait. So what Tyson did to solve this problem was use his switching again. So he would move his head to the left, move his head to the right, and as he moved his head to the right, he would switch his feet at the same time. Now what that's done is it's taken my head, it's no longer in front of Tommy like it was before, I've taken it to the side so that it's really hard for him to hit me with a cross because it's underneath his armpit. So for example, if Tommy stays where he is, and what I do is I try and hit Tommy with a right to the body here. You can see my head's still on line. Might get a decent shot in, but if Tommy's switched on, he's going to beat me to the punch. Whereas if I do the Tyson switch, punch, even if he does hit my head, it's just awkward. It's not a strong power line, it's not a good punching line. He's punching across his body to try and catch my head, which is down by the elbow. So that's genius, and that's how Tyson was able to land his famous body hook, right hook to the body, right uppercut on lots of people, because he was to the side of them, and he did that by switching his feet. So against Bruno was up against the wall a little bit, covering like this, generally being hammered. Poor Bruno. Tyson moved his head to the left, this side first. So moved his head to the left, then he switched his feet as he moved his head to the right. Go. Freeze. Perfect. So Tommy's no longer in front of me. If I try to hit him with this, it's literally impossible for me to get any power in that. He's close enough if he keeps his hand up so to neutralize the lead hook, because it's stuck there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this pad down for a horizontal hook, and then he resets himself and then goes back with the power uppercut. So this is not a bounce 1-2, this is a hit, reset, hit. So you've got to reload your hips. So you go one, reload your hips, and then come back up again. So Bruno against the cage. Bruno had this kind of high guard, elbows like this. Tyson moves his head to the left. And as he moves it to the right, he switches both feet, so he's in the opposite lead. That's a body hook, and then an uppercut. Bam. And obviously the uppercut, because I'm in this type of guard, just goes right up underneath and hits you right in the chin. And he landed this on lots and lots of people, and knocked out people with it as well. So a little bit closer, please. So remember, Tyson was really devastating at close range. He was often fighting people who had longer frames, longer punches. So he mastered the peekaboo head movement to get into range, and then hit angles to land his body shots and his head shots. So Tommy moves his head to the left, moves it to the right and switches. Body, yeah, and you can see by reloading it, it gets loads of power into that right uppercut. So it's a right hook, right uppercut, but done in an opposite lead, in an orthodox lead. So he moves his head to the side, jumps. Good, try not to jump with your feet, because it takes too long. You just kind of want to switch them. Yeah, like that. So as your head moves to the right, just switch your feet. And again, please, a little bit closer. Bruno up against cage, quite a tall, long body, like this, not looking too happy. Tyson spots the gap underneath the elbow, switches, body. Yeah, you're getting lots of power. He likes that. I was going to add that to the list of weapons he can use. Get lots of power in that. You're just in a really good position, and you go body shot, bang, re-chamber, and then that big uppercut that Tyson used to throw underneath. One more time. So I'm in a guarded position. As soon as I see Tommy switch to the side, he goes this side and then back. I'm holding the pad here. And one more time. So the pad is going to go on the outside of my body like this for the body shot, and then the right pad is going to go underneath the chin for the uppercut. So left pad on the body, right pad for the uppercut. So you can almost be touching gloves here. Tommy moves his head out, jumps. Yeah. And again, reset your hip, take your time. Step back. Jump. Yeah, fantastic. So that was the end of poor Frank Bruno, and we were all really sad.
Yes.
But it was a fantastic knockout for Tyson, and one of his most famous moves.